being 40. I spoke with Kentucky Senator Rand Paul on how that affects his ability to lead. With the approval rating of a Russian president and the Secretary of State, Kerry, higher than the president, are we in a situation now where we have a lame duck president who basically is an ineffective leader given the divisiveness between the parties right now? Is there any hope of getting things done in the next few years?
Well, I think it's not just Syria. It's a constellation of scandals. You know, you've had Benghazi, you've had the IRS, you've had the NSA, you've had the spying on AP reporters and Fox reporters. It's been one thing after another, and I think the constellation of scandals has really taken away from his moral authority to lead the nation. So in some ways, you're right. His moral authority to govern and to pronounce and to be an advocate for things has been taken away because he hasn't cleaned up any of the scandals that have come forward. The IRS agent who appears to be an enormous partisan and unfairly treating people for their political beliefs or religious beliefs, she's still being paid. Nothing's happened yet to her.
Well, it's even worse than that, Senator. She's not only being paid, she's not working. So she was on vacation all summer, but that's another issue. Are you guys going to shut down the government over Obamacare?
I think it's a bad idea to shut down government. I think it's a good idea, though, to defund Obamacare. Obamacare is a disaster. I think it's going to hurt the people that it was intended to help. I think it's going to increase everyone's insurance costs. May well cause workers who are part-time to get less hours, maybe so much that it's difficult to support their family. I think there are a lot of unintended consequences. The unions are now afraid of this. President Clinton saying poor working families may not be able to afford insurance. So there's a lot not to like about this, and I think we should do everything we can to defund it.
Senator, you know, you have been a strong proponent of eliminating mandatory minimums, especially in the federal courts as it relates to drug crimes. Tell us about that.
You know, I testified this week in the Judiciary Committee for a bill that would allow judges to have discretion. What bothers me is people for nonviolent crimes, drug possession crimes, that are given 10 years as a mandatory minimum. And it's not just their jail time, which is horrendous, but they get out of prison and then they can't get work because they have to put down for the rest of their life, they have to check a box saying they're a felon. I think nonviolent felonies really need to be put in a different category where you're not punished for the rest of your life for making a youthful mistake. And I think 10, 20, I mean, one guy that we talked about in this hearing was put in jail for 55 years for selling marijuana. That's outrageous, it's wrong, and we ought to stop it.
Senator, there is talk about you're running for president. Your mom says that you're not going to make up your mind before 2014. Does your mom know something about what you're ultimately going to do?
Well, it is always best to listen to your mom, so I always agree with that advice.
Does she think you should run, Senator?
Well, we haven't had a real discussion. My family's thinking about it some. We have had some talks internally in my family, my wife and my kids. And I'm doing some traveling this year, trying to grow the Republican Party and talking about how we need a more inclusive party. We need a party that reaches out to African Americans, Hispanics, Jewish Americans, Asian Americans, you name it. We need to be a more inclusive party. That's the only way we're going to win nationally is by changing those votes. And so I'm going to try working on this over the next year and probably make a decision sometime after the 2014 election.
All right. Senator Rand Paul, thanks so much for being with us. We look forward to hearing from you and maybe even your mother before 2014. Have a good